Hey YouTube, it's Graxy. Welcome back to the channel. Here's Siege Season 8 begins on September 12th, and with that, I'll be going through all my build guides from Season 7 and updating them for the new patch. In today's video, we'll be talking about my starter and progression guide for the Orb of Frost Jotunn. This is what I'll be league starting. This is what I played in the open beta this weekend. The footage behind you is from that event. You can see we were able to kill all the bosses in an Inferno and get our character to hero level 60. It's one of my favorite builds in the game. I remember waiting for this class to come out for like a year. We had a coming soon on the class. It was grayed out. You couldn't play it, and we just waited for a year before it finally came out. And I just absolutely love it. It very much resembles the Frozen Orbiswork from D2, which is also an all-time favorite build of mine and just pretty much any ARPG. And this channel hasn't really had a whole lot of Jotun content just due to it being really not in the best state. With this season coming up, there's going to be some changes that will really help this class. So be sure you keep it locked in the channel. Hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all future Hero Siege related news and content. And let's get into it here. First things first, disclaimer, this was made during the open and closed beta phases of Season 8 with the content and mechanics that were available at that time. So we do not have item spawners in the open beta. We did not have item spawners in the closed beta. So we're really just basing some of the in-game stuff and the progression stuff off of previous build trends, as well as, really just me going into the journal and checking the items and theory crafting with what we have available. So now, what's changed for Season 8? First of all, Orb of Frost had its int scaling increased. It had its damage scaling increased by a substantial amount from 9.5 to 12. That is quite a lot. As well as it got a cooldown reduction from 2.35 seconds to 1.75 seconds. That is massive. That is quite a big difference. It makes the character feel very good. You don't feel like you're like waiting around for your skill. You feel like you're always doing damage at that 175, and you can reduce that even more with additional cooldown reduction. Now, Orb of Frost, the Orb of Duality did get a damage buff from 20% to 35%. This is actually a little bit more now. I think it's now at 40% or 45%. They increased it a little bit more, but gave it just a little bit less projectiles, as well as the interactions with it on some bosses and just targets in general has also been changed a little bit. So expect this to be a little bit nerfed compared to the beta version if you did play it, but overall for bossing this is going to be a fantastic option, as it shotguns on bosses, and bosses that have, or targets that have, a larger hitbox, so you're going to get hit by more projectiles, which means it's going to do even more damage. You'll see on some of these bosses that absolutely just melt them. Now, another huge buff to cold related builds is monsters that shatter after death do not proc death rattles. So things like, the arcane balls, the ice novas, the poisons, all that shit. You do not have to deal with them because you're shattering enemies. Fantastic, huge. Also, Frozen Hide got a buff duration from 5 seconds to 120 seconds. So the base duration of your physical damage reduction is now 2 minutes. Thank you. And last but not least, there is a passive that gives you all resistance. It now gives you 15% at base value over just a flat 5. So at 10% all res buff is what you get for 1 point. So a ton of buffs here. It's definitely much needed. Let's get into how we're going to level this character and some pros and cons of it, right? So it's very, very simple to level. You have a large AoE for farming and really solid single target with, you can use Frost Thunder, and we'll talk about that. But there's Orb of Duality also is a fantastic way to deal with bosses or tanky targets. You have very good crowd control, a built-in teleport, an all resistance passive, physical damage reduction buff, and again that shatter. However, this one's a frame rate destroyer. It really is a frame rate destroyer. I don't have the beefiest of computers. Like, I have a potato. I might have a 1080 Ti and a 6700K i7. So not the best. It's not impossible to play on those, and I'll kind of talk about some different things that you can do if you are on a bit more of a potato. But even some people that I know that aren't on a potato were also experiencing some lag. I did kind of mention this during the open beta, and I know they're going to try to help reduce the overhead. One of those ways is by having less projectiles and just kind of changing its interaction on certain targets. So we did not get a patch during the open beta for that, so I don't know if that issue has been fixed to where that augment will feel a little bit better. If not, I have some options for us, and it's what I use for pretty much the whole beta outside of just killing some bosses, so it's totally fine. You are going to need return proj for maximum damage, right? There is the the Nemi's ring is making a return, so you can get return Proj, which will really help your damage potential. There is a possible mana stacker variant of this for later game and end game that it's going to be uber expensive. We're not going to talk about that much here on this guide. I think it's going to really come down to the community building some stuff around it. Once I'm able to play the build, obviously I'm going to see what I can do in order to push the character as far as I can. So definitely be on the lookout for that if you're in the end game. But I think that's going to be quite expensive in trade because some of the items you need are just, they're just crazy, right? And expect cold gear stonks to go up, right? There's going to be a lot of people playing this class. It's going to be a meta class. It's going to be an S tier class for the new season. So just keep in mind, cold gear will be expensive. Okay. Next, let's talk about skill trees, right? Oh, one more thing about the pros and cons. A lot of this stuff is really easy to farm. It's super easy to farm a lot of this stuff. So you're not going to need crazy amounts of gear in order to progress. Okay. Now, to level this character, I suggest you go with the swap freeze skill. This is going to be your best option. It's just cold damage. Put as much cold damage as you can on. It is a physical cold hybrid skill, so you can leech on this as well. I'll actually put this in the notes. Swap freeze can leech with the holy physical damage. Right? So that'll really help you with getting the character to level 16, which is our main goal. 16 when we unlock Orb of Frost, and from there we just coast all the way to Inferno Mevius, right? At level 8, same thing, continue putting points into Swap Freeze. You can put 1 point into leaping freezing leap, but I don't use this skill. I hate it. I straight up hate this skill. It is a movement ability. If you'd like to use it, go for it. I can't stand it. You can also put some points into permafrost. This will increase the damage of your swap freeze without increasing its mana cost. If you can find some mana leech early on, this will really help as well with sustain. At level 16, we finally swap into our Orb Frost. You can see we just dump all of our points into this. We have some 1-point wonders in here. That's pretty much it. At level 30, continue maxing out your Orb of Frost. You get your passive for all res, the glacial armor. You get this at 24. Put 1 point into it. It's 15 all res for 1 point. It's actually worth now instead of it being 5%. And then from there, we're going to start putting points into Avatar of Frost. This is going to be a cold damage multiplier. So you can see at level 40, we have some points into here. Don't forget at level 24 as well that you get Portal of Ice. This is your teleport ability. Level 70, same thing. We just continue maxing out Orb of Frost and its synergies. We can see we have Power of the Ancients. This will also give you damage based on your mana. We're not going to mana stack. Don't worry about that. But this will give you a little bit extra damage there. And last but not least, here is our final Orb of Frost tree. It's basically maxing Orb of Frost and its synergies, and then putting the rest of your points into Icicles. And then we go 1 point into glacial armor to get the res, and 1 point into permafrost. This is a very important part of the build. This permafrost will basically give you a lightning strike on kill, right? It's a chance to perform a lightning strike. It's like a cold strike that has some AoE on it. It's really nice. Especially as you get more and more plus skills, the proc chance goes up as well as the area effect on it goes up. This will help you clear out just a little bit more. You already have so much AoE on this character that it's not super needed here, but for 1 point, you might as well, right? And it's really just based on a percent damage. It's not its own damage scaling. It's based off of the skill that you're using, so it actually will help scale with our Orb of Frost, which is really nice. Now, if you are unfamiliar with sub-skill trees, these were added back in Season 5. Basically, you get 1 point for every 5 character levels. You can access these on the plus sign on the top right of skills. So for Orb of Frost, here's what I recommend that we use. You really want to get this cooldown reduction node here, right? It's very important to get this cooldown reduction node because this is not just 50% cooldown. It is half essentially, right? It is a reduction to the cooldown of the skill. So super important to get this one. Outside of that, this node down here gives you a bunch of projectiles, right? So just 5 additional projectiles. And then this augment on the far right is our Orb of Duality. This is going to give us the most coverage, right? This is going to give us the most coverage. What is it doing down here? and it's also what we use for bossing. Now, if you're having issues with your FPS, this is what I recommend you swap to. It's basically the same tree, but we use this top right augment. This is going to give you chain. So you'll throw your Orb Frost out, the projectiles will hit enemies, and then they'll just chain between enemies. And it's actually really nice. I actually kind of like this more than duality. It's super, super nice. So this will not destroy your FPS. Very clean. It is less damage. You are not going to have nearly as much, especially single target. You're not going to have nearly as much damage as you do with duality currently. So just keep that in mind, but it's more than enough to do what you need to do, right? Now, for Portal of Ice, this is going to be your blink ability, your teleport. We basically go for max range. We want to make sure we grab this over here. This is going to give us a stacking cold damage buff. So every time you teleport, you'll get 2 stacks up to, in this case, 10 stacks. That gives you a huge cold damage buff. So definitely grab that. And then we grab this top right node here. This will allow us to pull monsters together, to pixel stack them, so we can teleport, pulls a bunch of stuff, throw an Orb Frost on them, they get destroyed. And then last but not least, we have Blizzard. There's some different effects that you can do with this. If you end up getting a Glacial Talons later on in the mid game, be careful with this tree because you have a 10% chance to proc Blizzard, and it's going to proc the sub-skill tree version of it. It's going to proc the whole effect. So if you have like a giant AoE Blizzard that's going around everywhere and like tons of them, it can really also weigh on your FPS a little bit. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you're using Glacial Talents, you might need to maybe drop the AoE or go a different augment or whatever you need to do in order to save some frames. For attributes, 2 points intelligence, 2 points vitality while you're leveling up. This is a pretty general rule of thumb. If you end up getting some items that have vitality or life on them, you by all means can spec more into intelligence. Cool thing about this skill is because it is a cooldown based skill, it's just use it one time and go. Use it one time and go. You're not constantly spamming it to burn through mana. So as long as you have some sort of like mana on kill or some sort of sustain, right, you shouldn't really need much in terms of energy. Once you get into the end game, you'll be dumping all of your points into intelligence just to get the most amount of damage. In some cases, like you can see in my fights here, in some of these, I also put 150, 200 points into vitality just to have enough life so I didn't get, too hit by stuff. So completely up to you. You can respec your attributes anytime for free. For gearing, this section is really going to be helpful in giving you workable suggestions just based on different phases of the game. So you can see levels 1 through 100 I have on the written guide that will be available on the website. You'll see we have weapons as well as all of the affixes that you generally care about. I will have filters available for everybody. You can build a filter for cold casters. So you'll know exactly what you need to get. Highlight the things that you'll want to see. Everything will be available for you. You will have to build that filter yourself on League Start, but it will all be there. And of course, you can scroll down and you can see that there's some like different rune word options available here. There are going to be some really good leveling satanics that you can pick up while you're going. If you happen to drop them, do not stop to farm for satanics. You do not need to do that. I promise you, you will absolutely blast on this class. You don't need any satanics to get this character from 1 to 100. If they happen, sweet, right? That just makes it even easier for you, but you don't need to stop to farm out any satanics. This just will give you some different affixes that you can find on certain items in order to, beef up your damage or survivability. Next, we have budget gear. This will be at level 100. There's no best in slot gear here. A lot of this stuff could be swapped out for, different items, and any of it will work, right? So I will also mention the Ymir set is so good. This set will carry the absolute shit out of you. Just because you get 10 skills, right? You also get 25% pen. You get int conversion to cold skill damage, increased int, cold skill damage, life, mana on kill. You're going to get more cold skill damage here, more flat damage here. You get up to 5 sockets on the chest, which then you can socket in a bunch of sapphire gems to get even more damage, right? All of this stuff is fantastic. The boots are unfortunately kind of slow in the movement speed, but we have teleport, right? So not a huge deal. Very, very strong set. Highly recommend. It's going to be expensive, but if you can farm this out yourself, it is just an S tier set. This will help you a ton. Again, talking about gems, sapphires are going to be super important for the leveling process from 1 all the way through 100. These will give you additional, I know these say physical here, but it's the same values for cold. So these will give you cold skill damage, which obviously we're a cold build. This will scale up our damage tremendously. These are not additive amounts of damage. These are base damage, right? Essentially. So very important to be looking out for those sapphires and socketing sapphires into your gear. Now, if you are having a hard time finding the Ymir set, there are other available options in here. This, again, will all be in the written guide. You can click through all the tabs here and see exactly what items to look out for in every single slot. I am working on updating all of these this week, so keep in mind that some of this stuff might be need some new pictures because they've been reworked, as well as just a few things that I'm still adding to it. But for the most part, everything is together. Now, for progression gear, one thing that is coming in season 8 is we have star levels. Star levels is a powerful way to increase your item's stat values. Be sure you go watch this YouTube video if you don't know about star levels. It's a returning feature back from season 5. It's really important to helping you with some progression. Fortunately, this class, you don't really need to do a whole lot of star leveling. None of my items have star levels on them, and I killed all the Inferno Act bosses. However, it can be a useful tool in giving you some more damage. And again, all of the options that are available here in the progression guide, we are theory crafting with these just based on some of the items that we have available in the journal, as well as with the open beta and actually playing through on the character and things that I was able to put on. So for weapons, I used the Glacier Talon for most of my playthrough. Once I got one, extremely strong. The extra damage to deep frozen monsters and the cold skill damage, you get 75 int. That's 7 skill. Like it's crazy. Glacier Talon is by far the best weapon at this stage. Book of Cold Death is also very strong if you get one, but I recommend Glacier. There's also a ton of other options that are in here. Any of these will be perfectly fine for the build, right? Any of these will be perfectly fine. I could probably put that back in here. You could also run Eden's Harvest if you would like to when using Frost Sunder, right? There's also Eden's Harvest if you want to go Frost Thunder for single target. Actually, I take that back. We're not going to do that because I think that just makes it a bit more confusing for people, and you don't really need it for this character. Frost Thunder is another single target skill option. So here's a bunch of weapons that are available for the character, right? Offhands, Shield of the Abyss, super strong, gives you a bunch of extra damage, gives you a ton of pen, up to 6 sockets. Really good, really good shield. Helmets. I was using a Crown of the North for, like, I'm killing all these Inferno bosses with this Crown of the North on right now, right? Very strong helmet. If you can get something a little bit better, like, I don't know, like a Harley Quinn or a Gabriel's would be really nice as well. If you get a high cooldown Gabriel's, will give you a ton of extra damage. Any of those would be perfectly fine. For chests, and this I am currently using a Wraith's Cloak. I have a cold variant Wraith's Cloak that is nothing too crazy. It just has the skills on it with, I think, movement speed, which is really nice. It does have 6 sockets on it. Excuse me, it has 5 sockets on it, and I, again, socketed a bunch of sapphires in. But there are some other options. You can see like Gem King's Garb will give 6 skills, a ton of cold skill damage, right? It's a massive amount. I do have Enigma here because you can find a like a +4, +5 base, still make the Enigma, get a ton of skills that way, and then you'll have a teleport that doesn't have a cooldown, so that could be really strong as well. For gloves, we have Frostbite and Necrosis on, right? Any of these other options could be really nice. For boots, we are currently using, I actually think for this, I didn't switch out the Pearlescence. I'm using, there's a new pair of boots called the Desert's Wrath that gives you movement speed. I don't recommend you do that, but it also gives you phasing. So you can see, like in this fight, how I'm phasing through those coffins. Not a good choice. You could use anything else to get more damage, but that's what we're using in this fight. I would probably recommend Pearlescent Dreams. If you can get the roamers from the Rogue Chaos Tower, these can be very strong. Ether Walks are also very nice because you can get a base with extra skills on them. Yeah, all really good options here. For belts, currently I have a Freya's belt on. right? This gives you the extra damage, frostbite damage, int, cold skill damage, CBF up to 7 skills. Freya's is crazy, get a lot of juice on it. There's also like the Sash of Eternal Hatred if you're able to, if you're farming for um, like Hell 5 Amon Ra's and Hell 5 Gabriel's, and you're able to go kill Damien. Then Hell 5, you can drop some crazy sashes that can also be quite helpful. But I think Freya's is ultimately what you're gonna want to go for. Girdle, it can be a really good option here as well. We've kind of put everything in the Inferno section, so we'll talk about that. But Girdle can also be an option if you have access to the auction house. Now, for rings, um, the downfall of Phelps will be something that you'll definitely want. This is going to give you return proj. So it essentially extends their duration of the skill because it'll go out and then it'll come back when it's done. So you're getting more hits. It'll really help with your clear, right? But there are some other options in here. Signet of Shadows. This can come from Uber Reaper. Soulforge Ring if you want to grind one of those out. Aaron's is probably your best in slot second ring or a best in slot ring. It's just so good. You get so much on it. However, obviously being an angelic ring, don't expect to get one. With amulets, there's a lot of options here. I used this cold fire amulet. That's what we're using right now. You get up to 5 skills, a ton of cold skill damage, but there are things like Steve's necklace, Pendant of Eternity can give you a ton of cooldown reduction with magic skill damage. If you end up rocking this with like the Enigma chest, that gives you more teleport or gives you no cooldown teleport. These paired together can help you speed around very very fast. So maybe you're boss farming. This could be a really good pair. There's also Thoughts Agony. Arethiel's Fall comes from Uber Damien in Hell 5. Philosopher's Stone can give you a shitload of resistances with up to 5 skills. This can be farmed out as well. So tons of ways that you can kind of build things around with amulets. Charms, there's a shitload of them here, right? There's an absolute shitload of them here. Somebody made the comment. They're like, I can't believe you would recommend an item that's 2 gold caps and then put runes in it. Which made me laugh. They're generally not that expensive. They are definitely an expensive item, but I can't tell you how many people bitch that they don't have resistances, but yet they refuse to put on res. So here's a really good way that you can get a bunch of all res if you're able to drop a tablet or farm out a tablet. Um, that's personally something that I have done in the past just to make sure that I don't die to certain things. So there's also chaos gems that can give you a ton of damage as well. And really there's just so many charms. There's so many charms now that can work for the build. So definitely give a look-see through on all of these. A lot of them are just going to be RNG or something you'll have to buy on the auction house. For Inferno items, I've listed all of these in their own tabs, right? Because getting into Inferno is definitely harder than it's been in previous seasons, and killing some of the bosses in Inferno is a bit harder than it's been in seasons, especially Inferno, Amon Ra, Inferno, Gabriel. They're going to be a bit harder. So I put all of these in their own sections, so you can just, if you're in Inferno, you can check out what you can get out of Inferno. If you're not, no harm, no foul, or maybe you want to buy something on auction house, all that will be listed in here. Now for relics, we have access to Bonsai Tree. This is going to give us 40% cooldown reduction, as well as there are globes now. You want to make sure you get the ice globe here. This is going to give you 10 to cold skills. Then from there, we also have Orb of Ice. This will give you 30% cold pen, and Magic Mushroom or Triforce or Holy Bible. Any of these will be perfectly fine. You do get an additional relic slot now by completing the Fall of Darkness quest. This is killing Uber Gabriel and Amon Ra in Hell 5, right? So this will allow you to take a 5th relic. Tons of options here. We also have some utility and some life relics if you'd like to go that. So definitely give that a look-see. For potions haven't really changed too much, right? They're basically the same as they've always been. So definitely give that a look through on some potion options. For chest augments, we have Monstrosity, Nordic Winter, and Mystic Insight. I think Mystic Insight definitely got nerfed in the past, but I think Mystic Insight might be the best option here. Monstrosity giving you the most upfront damage by far. And if you don't have a source of deep freeze, Nordic Winter is going to be the answer, right? Now for mercenaries were reworked a bit in season 8. They're There's not a direct best option here. Probably not gonna go for the Archer Merc, but I do have all of the Mercs listed in the Google Doc. That way you can see exactly which one you might want to go. The Axe 6 Merc is going to be probably the squishiest, but it can offer some survivability, some defensive options. But probably me, I'm going to be going the Night Merc just to put as much Magic Find as I possibly can, because Magic Find is very important going into the next season. You also have access to boots, belts, and gloves. This will give you additional Magic Find. The Magic Find that's on your Merc now applies to you. So all of the options that are available in here is just going to be very Magic Find centric. If you want to build it a different way to get damage or whatever, by all means do that. I'm going to be recommending that people go for Magic Find Mercs because it will help with your progression more than anything else. Now, for hero levels, if you're not sure how these work, I do have a YouTube video talking all about hero levels, giving you some strategies and ideas on what to do for hero levels, as well as glyphs. If you don't know about them, again, YouTube video, check this out. This will talk all about glyphs, where you get them, what they do, previews of all of them, that whole shebang. For loot filters, I will have loot filters available for all classes, right? These are linked in each of the documents, so definitely take a look at that if you need a loot filter. This will show you how to build one for the new season. We cannot make filters for the new season. The closed beta is most likely not coming back up for the next season until the next season starts, as well as open beta is over. So you will need to make your filter about an hour before the season starts. The patch will hit. You can log into the game, go into local, make your filter, set everything up, be ready, save them to your account. You're good to go. Okay. If you don't know how loot filters work, I have an entire loot filter guide, talks about exactly how to do everything. So you can watch this a few times to get an idea of what loot filters look like, how they work, so you can quickly go in there on Link Start and set up your filter. And last but not least, I do have some additional helpful resources that are available on the website. Definitely give this a look if you need some additional information. And with that, I am going to, we're going to call it. Thank you guys so much. Come check me out live at twitch.tv/Gaxi_TV. We will be blasting this character on League Start. I'm super excited to play Jotunn again. So I hope to see you guys there. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.